I'm Yuri, and in 8.5 minutes we'll be done this video. It's an electric car review. It'll be fun, I swear. Start by ripping off hubcaps. It's refreshed. We're gonna have a good time. Jacob's at a wedding. He can't make it. Going for a drive. Did you know Canada actually gets these Land Cruisers, but they can't be put on the road? They're meant to go in the mines. I'm here in the 2026 refreshed, new name for a model, Toyota BZ electric SUV, which was previously the B4ZX. So they refreshed the outside and the inside. The outside now makes it look like a Toyota Crown Signia SUV. In a couple of the trims that have matching fender flares, you can get the colors to match in white, gray, and black. You can't in red. But in that way, it looks exactly like a Crown Signia, so that's kind of interesting. And then on the inside, I think they changed up the screen a bit, changed up the center console a bit, changed up the gauge cluster a bit. We never actually drove the B4ZX or the BZ4X. I actually can't remember what it was called, and that's probably why they changed it to the BZ. I think in Canada, they're calling it the BZ. The wheels kept falling off that and the Solterra.
Well, that doesn't fly off while you're driving.
That's why we never drove that, but we did drive the RZ without the yoke. So my heart's still broken. I still want to try a yoke. Driving this around, electric car, can I come to a full stop with just paddles and regen? No, but it does slow you down a whole bunch. And then you got to use the brake, just like the RZ. It takes off nicely, it stops nicely, the brake pedal doesn't feel weird, that is great. Steering also feels normal, that is great. Suspension, because it's an electric car, is it super comfy? It's all right. Over some bumps in a parking lot, man, the car felt like a lot of left-right jiggle after every bump, so I wasn't like too stoked on that, but this is like a compact electric SUV, so I don't expect the world of it. And we're in the limited trim, so we have a only reverse camera and cloth seats. How's that? But we do have standard heated seats, heated steering wheel. We got a big screen with wired and wireless CarPlay, so that is fantastic. You also get Android Auto. And then it's got the thing now where the left can be moved in and out when you're in CarPlay, so you can have your whole menu there, which is a big complaint that we complained about in the previous RZ and other Toyota models. So that's fixed and that's nice.
I think it's a good idea, and I'm standby.
And if you're wondering where Jacob is, he's on his way to a wedding today. So that's why he couldn't join me out in Scarborough at Toyota Canada head office to drive this around on busy Scarborough streets. They're meant to go in the mines, and then when they are done being driven around, they literally just collapse the mine on itself. Look, we got like vinyl seats and stuff. Manual transmission. So the good stuff, the range, we get 460 kilometers of estimated range from a 77 kilowatt hour battery in this all-wheel drive model. That's pretty nice, right? It has the Tesla charger, the NACS charge port. We can adapt it with an adapter to CCS or whatever, that's like the slow charge one. And it's got some app thing where you put your info in, and then pretty much, I think for most places you plug in an NACS, it's a standardized thing where it'll charge your card for what you're charging up. And to charge this, 10 to 80% is about 30 minutes, and it maxes out at 150 kilowatts for charging. Back to the looks, since we are in a limited trim, we have interesting wheels. Do you like the design of these wheels? Do you like the design of these hubcaps? Oh my goodness, who would have thought I'd be driving a car with hubcaps in 2025? I feel like the wheels below it actually look cooler. But anyways, if we put some Continental recommended tires on these cool rims, not the hubcaps, that would be the Continental True Contact Tour. And until the end of May, there is a promo going on for the ECS 02 tire, which is what I put on my new secret car, which I will be revealing later this year, until the end of May. So I think you got like 3 days. Check out the link below for details on that. And then some other cool look stuff, which I don't even know if it was in the last one because we never drove it because the wheels keep flying off.
Well, that doesn't whiz out of the window while I'm driving. That is a good idea.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Oh, nice.
We have some black into the hood, which I think makes the windshield look longer and sleeker. That's pretty cool. If we go to the back, we don't have exhaust tips, but we've got like a cool diffuser that goes like that. If we put it in reverse, I think that's the best way to listen to it from the outside. We got the beeps on the inside and the hum on the outside. Nice, safety. So since this is the Limited, we only have a reverse camera. So we unfortunately do not have egg mode for the first time in a while. I'm a little sad. I wish I had 360 camera. I feel like every car needs 360 camera. Oh, I looked away. It has an attention warning, which is cool. This has a lot of safety features. This has Safety Sense 3.0, so you get a ton of stuff that you can click on your touchscreen right here on these dots, and we swipe over and we have our driving assist, lane departure, parking support brake, safety exit assist, roadside assist, intuitive parking assist, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, proactive driving assist, a whole bunch of good Toyota driving assist stuff, because we know Toyota is a very safe company and wants their cars to be very safe.
When you get in there, you are like, it will fly off and toast.
This also has adaptive cruise and lane centering, but we are not going to test it out today because we are stuck on Scarborough side roads. I don't feel like getting on the highway, getting stuck on the 401 at like 3 o'clock on a Friday of a long weekend. It is too risky.
Stinky!
So last time we drove one of these, the RZ, it had a thing that said like you couldn't charge it a certain amount of times per day, and it might not charge when it's cold. I don't know if this has that because there is no one from Toyota here to answer all my questions. Not really that kind of trip, but this does have some cool stuff for winter now. It now has a heat pump, and it now has a radiant foot and leg heater that is optional. So you can, I guess, heat pump on the way to where you need to be to charge and get your full charge. People like that. I don't drive an electric car every day, but people seem to really think you need a heat pump. And I guess we did drive that Mach-E Rally that was in jail mode the whole time. Jacob did drive some Mercedes that wouldn't let him use launch control because it was too cold unless he drove it around for like a couple hours. So I get the need for heat pumps, and I get why people who own these cars need that. And if you do own this car or want to own it or want to own a used B4ZX, go to tsp.truecar.com and search for those, or look up a Toyota 86. I would prefer just a manual Toyota 86, a red one, just like in what's that show? MF Ghost. Finish that off. That's cool. Excited for season 3. I like how it takes like a whole season for qualifying and a race. Like, what an interesting way to make a show. We also have 3 years complimentary of Hey Toyota. Play SiriusXM Channel 9.
Tuning to SiriusXM Channel 9.
I like that. You can also have a thing where it'll help you get directions to charging stations and call, but then you have to renew it after 3 years. So there's that. You need 4G, whatever. Some people like that. I prefer not to have that. You do have phone key that you can send to people, but even like Jacob showed me an article where some guy came in with his like Mustang Mach-E, and like he had only his phone key, and then the mechanic shop couldn't move it around because he couldn't give them his phone. So there's stuff like that. And this is a prototype vehicle. So fits and finishes may not be representative of a production vehicle. No sunroof, so you can't see how messy my hair is, thank goodness. We got a weird shifter, but same one from the RZ. We got 2 charging pads for your phone, but I don't like my phone to overheat, so I just use the USB-C plug-in. The cup holders look like they'll fit a small cup just fine. The visors, though, I don't think they're gonna pass because I see a flap. 3, 2, 1. No, little flap, fail. And then your seating position. Seating position's nice, the seat's comfortable. Lumbar's only forward and back, unfortunately not up and down, and since it's a cloth seat, whatever. I fit in the front and back just fine. I think Jacob barely fits in the back, but his legs are high up. Visibility is great. We got those little glass windows in front in between the mirror and the A-pillar, but I think that's because this is really just a Subaru that's been wrapped up by a Toyota, which seems like Toyota's been doing that a lot. You know, we got the 8.6, the Supra, they're just teaming up a lot. And with this being a Subaru, you also have X modes. They didn't even try to hide it or make it a different mode, which is cool. The X modes are great in Subarus for getting out of stuck situations. I don't know if you're gonna get stuck in this Toyota BZ off-roading, but you might, and you have those X modes for you. And if we pop our cool hood with the black paint on it to make it look like a long windshield, you'll notice there's no storage. And that's fine, because it's a big hood. We got all our engine stuff in there. And then, does it have a dipstick? No, it doesn't, because it's electric. What would be the TotalEnergies recommended oil? check the website, click the link below to see what the TotalEnergies recommended oil is for your car. I changed the oil in 3 of my cars this year already at Benz, my Secret car, and then my Mazda Miata and my 350Z. I brought my own TotalEnergies oil, but you can ask the shop you go to provide TotalEnergies oil for your next oil change. So go ahead and do that for us. We'd appreciate it. And then this driving position of screens. The screen, you know, I'm surprisingly all right with the climate buttons in there, whatever. We've got a volume knob. It's not the hardest because you can see your climate at all times. Now the screen in front of you, this gauge cluster, they changed up the shape a bit from the last one, made it a little more normal. I can see everything just fine. I think tall people might have a hard time because your steering wheel is going to be fully below your gauge cluster. It almost acts as a head-up display and not a gauge cluster that goes in between your steering wheel. You know, it's not as bad as I think everyone makes it seem. It's pretty much standard Toyota gauge cluster stuff, just in a weird position that's also technically your head-up display. And since there is no head-up display, that's nice because in the RZ, we had those weird buttons that would either be your head-up display or onto your gauge cluster, and I think this combines both of them very nicely, and I like that. And the buttons on the steering wheel look weird, but they're easy to use once you figure it out. And the steering feels nice. I think I mentioned that already. Trunk space is really good, and it's power, and we do have a button lock to close. We can also tap to close all the doors or open them front and back, which is very nice with the keyless entry. And a child seat would fit great back there. I'm sure of it. I'm not gonna take mine out of my Secret car because it's in the back seat and it's somewhat of a pain, but you know, I can just tell it'll fit. This armrest and like arm position is actually pretty nice for driving. I don't mind it. The armrest is cool. We can open it from both sides. Lots of storage there, and we got storage underneath our charging area, which is pretty sweet. The sound system, this isn't even the upgraded JBL, and it sounds really good, so I would be excited to see the upgraded JBL system as well. All right, I've got about 50 feet that I could try flooring it. Ooh, that's pretty peppy. All right, back to stop and go Scarborough traffic. If you'll notice this thing hanging, that is the attachment for the dealer optioned dash camera, which I disconnected before doing this review. And I actually think that'd be a great option to get if you actually did buy this car in real life. And if I had to pick one, I would pick color matched. I think that looks a lot cooler than this style, and I think the color match makes it more refreshing, makes it look like a newer model instead of maybe potentially people thinking you're driving the old B4 ZX when actually you're driving a BZ4X. What BZ4X? Oh my God. So overall, nice, normal, chill, electric SUV. Let's get to the price. We don't have a price. So if we look at last year's pricing, a 2025 Toyota B4 ZX, so let's assume this one will probably cost 5,000 Canadian more, right? More importantly though, would we take this over a Chevrolet or a GM electric car? Because this actually has CarPlay. And because of that, I'm gonna have to give this the win.
If you don't, that means you yourself admitted yourself that you suck.
I would not consider anything that doesn't have CarPlay right now, and soon, maybe even CarPlay Ultra. Just kidding, I don't care about that. I just like normal CarPlay. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. Hopefully that was 8.5 minutes long, and we'll see you on the next review with Jacob here. Fast cars that are way out of your price range that you'll never be able to afford or buy. I always thought the BZ4X was the Subaru model because BZ4X sounds like BRZ, you know?